Second Amendment, as it reads, I'm sure all of you well know, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Is this not an explicit individual constitutional right for citizens of the United States? Do any of you guys take contention with that?
I take contention with it. You got to keep the text in the context. It made sense for a white man in the 18th century. They were fearing the reconquest of the British, holding Africans against their will, Native American wars. These were the contexts for the reason why white males, 18th century, needed a gun. Had nothing to do, didn't talk about no hunting or no fishing, or fear of your next door neighbor. All of those contexts, all those reasons are gone now.
Mr. Workman, I would assume that you may have a different perspective on it.
Yeah. I think that the right to keep and bear arms is just as important today as it was in the late 1700s. We have a right to self-defense. We have a right to personal protection. That's the oldest human right, is self-preservation. The marauding Indians or bandits have been replaced today by marauding gangs or thugs, people who got out of prison. It's a sad situation. We can't have a police officer on every corner. We certainly couldn't afford it, and besides, we'd have a police state. We do have freedoms in this country, and one of the freedoms that we have is to defend ourselves and our families. The law-abiding citizens aren't the people that we need to worry about. It's the criminals that I think everybody here on this panel is going to be worried about, and the criminal element, we all want to solve that problem.
There's a couple of buzzwords that I found troubling when we talk about criminals, and everybody has an image in their mind of criminals. The killers at Sandy Hook, the killers at Aurora, the killers at Columbine, the killers at Fort Hood, none of these guys fell into that category of criminals, gangbangers, marauders. So to use that image, and even if you want to talk about gangbangers, most of their violence is against others in their demographic. The people in this room have almost no chance of being a victim to that element. So therefore, to be equipping people in the suburbs to defend themselves against violence that goes on among groups in the inner city is ridiculous. It is a rationalization for a policy otherwise without merit. What sense does it make for folks who like to hunt and fish and the proverbial burglar? Why do you need a 30-bullet magazine clip? Why do you need a Bushmaster? You don't hunt with that kind of weapon, and you don't get in an engaged firefight with a burglar. There is no rational reason why anybody needs a military style piece of equipment, and law enforcement officers are the first people to say, we are tired of trying to deal with people who outgun us.
Show me how they're going to spend more bodies on the street that will address the violent crime now. You'll see that DA has grown, FBI has grown beyond belief. ATF has been the same size or smaller in the last 24 years.
And Dave, I mean, when you talk about the need to take on the criminals that have guns, how would you envision doing that? Do you empower the ATF?
The ATF and all the other agencies, they have a problem with budgets nowadays. I know people in the ATF that tell me that the money is a real problem. They just can't go out and hire people. Doug can probably speak better to that than I can because he was inside the agency for a long time.
We have some enforcement problems because those who love guns also hate government spending, which cripples the ability to enforce the laws that we have. So there's some double speech going on. The only prevailing remaining reason is to be able to have the firepower to fight your own government if you want to. And clearly with the type of military might we have today with drones, smart bombs, all those kinds of things, it is ridiculous to think that citizens would have the right to bear the type of firepower to have an armed struggle with their government when the framers envisioned perhaps a musket to musket. So if you keep the text in the context, there was a reason behind it, and when those reasons are gone, some things need to be left in the 18th century, such as slavery, women's not having the right to vote. We have evolved, and I think the barbaric obsession with the gun needs to be left in the past.
The framers of the Constitution did not really consider that the might of the Army was a question because at that time we had a citizen army. We still have a citizen army. It's an all-volunteer force, but we depend on people to join the military, and that actually comes from the public.